What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Tammy, aka the Cannabis Cutie, and I'm here today at Hardin in Las Vegas with amazing women from the cannabis industry in honor of International Women's History Month. Now, the thing about this industry is that it surrounds a very beautiful plant, and what a lot of people don't realize is that it's actually the feminine plant. So the cannabis plant is dioecious, which means there are male plants and there's female plants. And the female plants are the ones that produce the flowers out of sexual frustration. And that is what our industry surrounds. So with me, I have women who are also flourishing in this industry with their feminine energy. And we will start to my right. Please introduce yourself.
I am Priscilla Vilches, known as the Hollywood Queen. You want me to?
Yeah, tell us like who you are, what you do in the industry.
No problem.
Yes, let's go.
I'm actually the youngest female Latina to win these licenses in the state of Nevada, which is one of the most rigorous, difficult states. With that being said, I won when I was 27 years old. Today I'm 36.
All right.
Yeah. But it's really flattering. It's nice knowing that, we're breaking barriers and motivating other women to get into the space. But yes, so we take really good pride in doing what we do and ensure that we deliver good cannabis.
Love it.
All right. Thank you. Up next.
My name is Brittany Agoncillo. I am the store director for Hardin. I have actually been in this industry for over a decade now. I had the opportunity to start with this plant in activism and then have a chance to work with it from seed to sale. And now I'm here in Las Vegas, surrounded around a bunch of wonderful women. So
Yes.
I'm going to pass it on to you.
Hey. Hi, I'm Ashley Blaze. I moved here from North Carolina about 5 years ago to get into the industry. I've worked in a couple different major dispensaries out here in Las Vegas. Now I'm here at Hardin as a bud tender supervisor.
All right.
Amazing.
All right. And I am Tammy, aka the Cannabis Cutie. I'm on-screen talent and an educator in the industry. I like to take a lot of the high-level information and break it down so that it's easy to understand for the advocates, for the entrepreneurs, for anybody that wants to enter this industry. I believe we have a duty to understand how this plant works, and that information should be easy to digest and easily accessible. So that's what I do. And I'm here today to moderate and also bring my perspective as a canna mom.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
So we have a trailblazer, we have activism, we have someone who's on the front lines of what I like to call the industry as the bud tenders. You guys get to see all of the products that come in. You see how they sell. You're actually a representative for each brand. You're the ones that are kind of making sure that ends up in people's bags, and very underrated in this industry, but have so much information. So grateful to be here with
Thank
all of you
you.
women in celebration at Hardin, who's been so lovely and hospitable. Every time I come in from LA, I'm always happy to be here. It feels like home for me. So let's start with you. How does it feel to be a woman in cannabis? What is your experience like?
You know what? Just like any other business, going into a new space, right? And being a woman and a minority and being young is already very challenging.
Right.
But the advice that I would give is ensure that you have a great infrastructure, a good team,
Yeah.
good lawyers, good advisors, to be able to succeed in this space.
Yeah.
You're constantly being watched.
Yeah.
People want you to fail,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the number one thing when you see a new kid on the block. It's imperative that you just do well
Yeah.
and you continue forward.
Okay.
But it is extremely challenging.
Yeah.
But everything that's good, I would say, takes time, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, I encourage you, this is more conversation style, less formal like a panel. We're all talking. So I just wanted to follow up on something that you said, and I just lost it. The power of cannabis. Gosh. It'll come back to me.
Don't worry. I'm
Yeah.
here.
So it's more of a conversation then. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like
I'm
listening.
like,
I'm
oh,
like,
Yeah.
sidebar, lost the my footing.
I like how you said when these licenses because it is really difficult, especially out here, to get those.
Yeah, it was extremely difficult. I remember going up with my lobbyist and my lawyer who was representing me, and, you know, being 27, and you had like Arnie Morton's steakhouse chain, you know, waiting after me.
Yeah.
And we had big high profile people with their net worth of up to like over $500 million or $1 billion. And there was me. So it's pretty, it's nice. It's, I remember my family, everyone watched it on TV, and it was really nice. I remember getting a lot of the press to write articles about me because they were in awe, and they were all very happy to see you succeed.
Yeah.
So, it's extremely challenging, but worth it.
Yeah. That brought me back to exactly what I was going to say.
Yes.
You said a good team. That is so important. So I have a cannabis book club, and we meet weekly. We read cannabis books, and there was one that we read called Breaking the Grass Ceiling, and it highlighted a lot of beautiful women entrepreneurs in the space.
I think I was in it.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
I was in it.
And I feel like over 50% of the women said have a strong operating agreement, because that is how you get your company stolen. And so good lawyers, good operating agreement, good people around you to protect you. Because, you know, unfortunately in business, you play dirty with the contract. You've got to really comb through it. And it's just kind of this game of gotcha sometimes. And a lot of women have actually become employees of their companies that they once owned.
That is a fact. I have heard that, unfortunately. You have to make sure that your board, if you have a board, even if you're a majority owner, all of those things are carefully monitored, and you've got a team of like state advisors as well as local. It's a lot, but you need to prepare.
Do you feel that you have more help being a woman at the front line now, or is it one of those things where you're constantly battling?
It wasn't offered. I commanded it.
Okay.
It's very different. Not just because you're she's a license holder. It's not like the doors are going to open for you. No way. You need to be assertive. You need to go in there and demand that you are treated equally.
I love that. I love that. And you've had a chance to even create more opportunity for other women in this space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
But you can't ever expect that, people are going to do the right thing.
Right.
That's what I've learned.
Okay.
You need to always protect yourself.
Amen. All right. Good team. Thank you for that, Priscilla.
Yeah.
Brittany, talk to us about what it's like to be a woman in the cannabis industry.
Ooh. Well, for me, I'm a glass half full, half, empty type of person. So when I think about this industry, I think, God, what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, I remember when I was trapping, and it was a lot different than where we are now. And it's so funny because when you deal with the different challenges of running a day-to-day operations, and things can kind of go a little haywire, at some point I'll stop and I'll pause and I'll look at whoever I'm talking to and I'll say, hey, we're just selling weed. Right? We're selling really good stuff, and we're just trying to get it out there. So you're going to deal with those natural challenges. But ultimately, I try to focus on the fact that we are trailblazers, and someone has to do it, right? So despite the challenges, it's a lot of fun. Like Priscilla said, the good ultimately outweighs the bad. And I came into Hardeen, or just in this industry in general, not necessarily to be an operator, but to advocate and to continue this journey of providing safe access to quality products consistently, right? It's a dream of mine to have a dispensary that you can walk into and what you want is always there. Right? I never question when I go into a grocery store if I'm going to have my favorite bottle of ketchup, for example. And I feel like the cannabis industry needs to get to that space, and I want to be able to help bring that out and into fruition. So.
All right. Thank you for that perspective. Ashley. Oh, wait.
It's Ashley.
Yeah, I was like, you looked at me like I got it wrong. I was like, wait.
The pause for a second. I was like, oh no, it's going to be a really hard one.
Okay. I was like, no. I've called you that all day. A little heart attack. Okay, so what's it like for you being a woman, a bud tender as well? Like, how's that? What is that like? Because your interactions are with, patients and consumers. So what's that like?
My experience in the industry, there has at sometimes professionally been a little bit of some challenges being a woman, just because you do see a lot of more like roles that traditionally it's all guys in those higher power roles.
Yep.
So being at Hardin, it's really nice and refreshing to feel like you're a little bit more honored and respected in that sense.
Yeah.
As far as like customer facing, I've definitely had the times where you would recommend something to someone and they would ask the guy next to you. And if the guy says the same thing, then they agree with it. But I think it's improved a lot over the years because I've been on this industry coming on 5 years, and it is a big difference now for sure. And especially here as well, you're definitely a lot more respected in that role. They definitely praise you a little bit more. So there's a lot more diversity here and room to grow, which I really appreciate. And, it's super refreshing as well.
Oh my gosh.
Because it hasn't always been that way.
I didn't even think about people looking at you and assuming that you know less as a woman, which we know that women typically perform well academically. So it's, literally it's studying the products and then experience. So I'm a bit
Sometimes
shocked
too,
that,
even just age, because weed hasn't always been the same. It's evolved too.
Correct. Yeah.
And now you have so many different ways to consume it, so many different strains, so many new things like terpenes. Those are a little bit fresher.
Okay.
So yeah, it's come a long way. There's so many new different things every day.
Okay.
How does it feel to be a part of that and kind of educate? Because that's true, right?
Yeah.
The evolution of everything.
Yeah. I mean, you guys also play doctors in a way because you can't go to your physician and say, how can I get, a product to help with my glaucoma, or how can I, help add this to help me with my diabetes? Like, your physician or your specialist probably does not know how to answer that question because they're not learning about this in medical school, even though the endocannabinoid system is a very important part of our health and a big, piece of the puzzle that they're ignoring completely. So as a bud tender, you kind of have to play that role de facto. Especially good bud tenders who actually, take time to study to help their patients.
Or even something simple like wording it a certain way so it doesn't go over their head so they can understand it a little bit more easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's dope. I love bud tenders. I have so much love for bud tenders. I feel like, if you want your brand to do well, you take care of the bud tenders, not the managers or the owners of the store.
Even on customer retention, because if you go somewhere and you're looking for a specific type of high, certain type of effect, certain type of benefit, or even just a certain flavor of like a strain you're looking for. So I want something that tastes like oranges. You definitely have to know your products. You got to know your customers because they could say one thing, but you got to ask little things too.
Yeah.
And I would hate to sell somebody something guaranteeing them that this is the experience you're going to have. When they go home, it's the opposite. And then they're thinking, oh, I don't want to go there. They don't have what I want. Versus I'm here, there's a lot more levels of education. So we have a little bit more of the customer attention because more than likely what I sell you, it's what you're looking for.
Yeah. Amen.
And I think that's important because I remember watching one of your Instagram stories and how you were talking about how education is everything that you need to, help change the stigma of this plant, and it's so true.
Yeah.
When you look at majority of the customers that come into our store, for example, half the time they'll say, my doctor told me to come in here and ask about this, or my husband has this type of cancer and I heard that this was the place to come to. Even my dog has it and I heard this is where I can come to support, just anything and every conversation possible.
Yeah.
And that's where education plays an integral part. So when you see a bud tender, for example, at Hardin, I know I could speak on this. They don't just show up to work and then clock out. They go home and they're educating themselves. They have for example, a bud tender final exam, which I love because everyone kind of freaks out about it. But it's about, 4 courses where they're going over like the introduction of cannabinoids and terpenes. And you truly can't even step on that floor unless you understand those profiles on a whole nother level. Because at the end of the day, people are coming into this store to understand and get educated by this. And the more we educate our consumers, the better we're able to right fit them at the end of the day, and you're able to use something that actually works for you.
Yeah. You're kind of teaching people how to be their own doctors.
Precisely.
Yeah, journaling is one of the biggest things that I tell people. That's how I figured out I can't really do citrus. Once I started writing down, how I felt before, how I felt right after consumption, an hour later, really just, taking into account how old the flower was, and really it came down to smell. And I kind of determined there's like 5 or 6 smells in cannabis, and I really, really love like 2. 3 or 4, I adore. But if it smells like oranges, the reaction is like it's a 1 in 2 chance. I may not feel good after I consume. But if it's gassy, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna feel light. It's like it melts the stress away and it gives me energy. So that's why I kind of tend to shy away from products that tell me how I'm gonna feel.
Yeah.
Because you may eat an almond, but if my daughter eats an almond, she's going to the hospital, and you're going to be fine. So we can't say that it's healthy and it's going to react. You're going to react this way. We all have different bodies, and we all react different to nature. We all react different to nature. Right. So
that's why it's so important too to understand those little things like terpenes.
Yeah.
Because if somebody had asked you, hey, do you ever get anxiety when you smoke? You probably could have avoided that, and they could have recommended something better.
Exactly. Figure it out for yourself. That's what your doctor does with medicine. Take this for 4 weeks. Let me know how you feel, and then we're going to adjust accordingly. That's what you're doing with yourself. And the funny thing is, I was eating a dried orange from Trader Joe's. They have like these dried, like sugared oranges that are so good. And I was eating them, and then I was sneezing and snotting like crazy. And my friends are like, "What are you doing? You're allergic to oranges." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And they were like, "Yes, you are. That's why you can't do orange weed." And it just like clicked, like I might be allergic to oranges, and I never even noticed. So that's one of the beautiful things about kind of learning to play doctor with your weed. You start to look at it in other things too, like your food.
That's awesome.
So speaking of cannabis biology, what a lot of people don't know is that your uterus is a really big component and tied very closely with the endocannabinoid system. So everybody's like, oh, the CB1 receptors, which are the receptors that attach to THC and your own endogenous inside version of THC that your body makes. The brain is the most abundant place unless you have a uterus, and then that would be the most abundant place, which is why we get so much relief from this plant, because it is tied to this plant. They communicate very well. But when you go into the market, what do you see marketed to women in cannabis? What kind of products?
It's just directly towards women?
Yeah, like what kind of marketing? When you go into a dispensary, what kind of marketing do you see catered to women? Or if any at all, do you see any products that are catered to women? I know in the Los Angeles market,
there's not a lot.
Yeah, there's very few. And if you see them, it's like ratioed CBD or low THC, like low THC to a CBD ratio. It's like women cannot handle high tolerance cannabis or high percentage of terpenes. They are marketing low dose products to women, and it's just kind of hilarious because if you look at it biologically, women probably have higher tolerances. And then we also deal with 4 phases of a menstrual cycle, and we feel different in every phase of that menstrual cycle. And cannabis can aid a CBD sometimes, THC sometimes, but they're not addressing this at all. Yeah. How can we fix the marketing and the products that are catered to women? Because the products that I love are definitely very masculine and very edgy.
Yeah. Plus, we like to party too.
I mean,
I like to smoke.
I agree. I think there should be more products like directed towards women, but like we'll take my packaging for instance.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, I made sure to find sexy jars.
Yeah, the jars were nice.
You remember my jars? Yep. They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, some people were like, "Oh, it looks like a women's body."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it looks like
something you'd find at a luxury makeup
like a
counter,
makeup store or something like this. Now with the pandemic, the shipping ended up being 10 times more than the jar cost, so it was not worth it. Yeah. Unfortunately, we had to discontinue them. So what I try and do is add a woman's touch to some of our products. I mean, El Blunto has like a Tiffany blunt.
Ew.
I mean, I've seen a lot of women want to come into a store and purchase it and gift it to like a girl at her birthday, and
Yeah.
they're obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
more
think a lot
feminine
of
colors like
people
the
are
pinks too.
trying to, attract both male and female, and I think it's imperative.
Okay.
I think it's great to talk about it. I think it's great to throw out ideas.
Yeah.
know?
But can you market to men and women? Like, can you segment your market so that it's everybody? Because I know, as somebody who does have a degree in marketing, you can't market to everybody as much as you want everybody to have your product. You do have to pick a demographic and target them. And then you have your secondary market. So typically when I see people who are directing products to women, it is just kind of like, that's cute. Like,
Yeah.
We have to change the
Or it's
perception.
men. It's also a
Paying
lot of
70
as
for
well,
that.
men marketing to women, but it's crazy because women are your biggest shoppers, and women are the #1 impulse buyers.
okay, I believe that.
We've entertained the idea of a lubricant.
Okay, yeah, that
but
would sell.
A lubricant,
Oh, yeah.
obviously, what would that be for male and female?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Think
But
about
a man is not going to buy that at a dispensary.
Why not?
I-
You never know.
I mean, I think that's more of a product that a woman's going to pay attention to.
yeah,
yeah.
we're going back and forth, whether it be water based or water based is usually better so that prevents any infection. So we're going through it right now. But,
That's good.
but yeah, we're trying to keep our ears to the ground. So if you know of anything else, give us your tip.
We can help you here at Hardin with that.
Yeah, there you
It's
go.
easy.
Yeah. More feminine products, more products for, again, our uterus can communicate directly with this plant. I mean, it's in our breast milk as well. Our babies need that cannabinoid rich breast milk because it helps them suckle. And without them, they can't survive. Like, it is so imperative in everything. Our eyes are formed. The aqueous humor begins, the formation of the eye, and that starts with the endocannabinoid system. Like, it truly is the foundation of our creation, and it's so beautiful. And it means that we've evolved with this plant for thousands and thousands of years, yet there's so much strife and negativity surrounding it with the laws and the amount of arrests that, our nation all of a sudden started locking its citizens up for cannabis in the 70s, and then it has not let up since. From a social justice perspective, what do we need to do, especially as women who kind of think more about social repercussions, because again, we're the givers of life and we have children. So we worry about these things. From your perspective, what needs to happen as we're seeing legal markets flourish in different states and come on board?
We need to change the laws towards this plant, period.
Okay.
It's insane how it's still a Schedule 1 drug, and we all know it's not.
Right.
So simply put, in my opinion, it's just one thing that we all continue to talk about, and it's something now where we need people to kind of stand together, but we also need our government to do their part. Because for me, and the biggest challenge and the biggest roadblock has always been our government.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you guys can agree with me on that, but that's something that we kind of need to focus on and change, because once those laws change, you're going to see everyone kind of start to follow suit, if that makes sense. Because it always feels like we're in between a hard place and a rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, I can't wait because I want every bank that has shut me down for my money.
Yeah.
Right. Banking is definitely an issue because of the laws. I mean, the thing is, the legal cannabis market is interesting because when you look at it, the reason why you were able to make so much in cannabis was because you didn't have that many expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Now when you're legal, you have insurance, you have security, you have taxes,
Product
you have
liability,
all
workers'
kinds of
comp.
taxes.
But
You have-
and you don't even get to write
Payroll,
off the basic
taxes.
don't
things.
get to write them off. So that's the thing. It's not as lucrative as we thought. Like, I can't wait for everybody to be like, oh my gosh, it's a plant. And then, it goes back to, it'll never be $1 an ounce again like it used to be once upon a time. But the reason why cannabis is so expensive is because of prohibition, because of the laws, which makes it valuable, which of course, that's going to bring violence. It's kind of the laws that created this whole mess in a way. When nobody cared about it, when it was number 3 in our pharmacopoeia for medicine, and it was an over-the-counter thing that we gave to kids for tummy aches, for women when they were acting crazy, to relax after work. Nobody there was no issues. People didn't know that this marijuana and this cannabis were the same thing.
Yeah, nobody's out there
Yeah.
smoking weed and robbing banks.
Well, see, consumers weren't smoking it back then. They were using like the tinctures that you got at the pharmacy. It was Mexicans that brought over the habit of smoking it. And people didn't know that marijuana and cannabis were the same thing. People still don't know that hemp and cannabis and marijuana, it's all one thing. It's all one thing. There's no separation of it. One is just only allowed to have 0.3% THC, but if it has 0.4% THC, it is a sativa plant that is high CBD. So, you know, it's just a legal term.
Yep.
And I think we as women make really good communicators and people to kind of help understand things. So what do you think our strengths are in this industry as women?
I think we have a little bit more compassion sometimes, for sure. And not every situation's black and white. So sometimes you have to be compassionate to see that gray area.
Yeah. Like, so in like what sense in the industry would you apply that compassion? How does that give us a one up? Or how is that our strength?
It definitely, in a market sense, you could offer more products, like how we were talking about menstrual relief items and things like that.
Yeah. Innovation.
Yep. Or even in the beauty side, because we like to feel good too. And we know between women, even something small like a scented hand soap would really make your day too.
Yeah. I love that.
I definitely tag on to that compassion, but I also feel like we have this incredible camaraderie.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun, like when you walk into a restroom and then all of a sudden you're all best friends, right? And that's the thing about the cannabis space and the women in the cannabis space. Like, for example, how I organically met Priscilla.
Yeah.
It was, we were at the G4 Bud Tender Awards.
Okay.
And Mike Tyson was giving out an award for like the most powerful punch.
Yeah.
And then here comes Priscilla grabbing the award. And as she's speaking into the mic, she goes, I bet you didn't think you'd see a woman up here, huh?
Yes.
And when I saw that, I said,
energy.
I need to meet her.
Yeah.
Immediately.
I love that.
You know, it was the first thing that went into my head. I was like, I bet they all thought I was a good dude.
Yeah. Amen. Let's go.
And she's so kind.
Yeah.
So I immediately went to her afterwards. I said, congratulations on winning this award. I've seen your face outside of here. And I really love what you're doing in this industry. Would love to connect. And we've connected ever since. And I believe that's our story too, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I really appreciate about this industry is real queens fix each other's crowns.
Amen.
And
1000%.
Amen.
yeah, and there is no like, oh, I'm gonna compete against you. It's like, no, here's what I know, what you know, and
you
we
win, I
How
win.
can we help each other?
Right.
What can we do?
If you win,
You
I
know?
win.
exactly.
We all win together. Like to see another woman do it and come up, like wish that for yourself and be happy when you see it because we need more of that. Women do make good leaders.
Yes.
We make incredible leaders and we're not, we're not 50-50 anymore in cannabis. Once upon a time, it felt like there was, it was kind of an equal amount of leadership up until we switched over to legal markets. And then a lot of women were pushed out of executive positions and we kind of have seen a decline in women leadership. But you as a female leader in this space, how does it feel to be leading a lot of men? What challenges do you face?
Whew. Well, it's flattering.
Okay.
But like I said, we have to always be careful. We have to perform. Let me tell you, I have to work harder than your average person just because there's a lot of haters out there who want to see you fail. When
Yeah, you
I
got a lot of
won,
proof.
when I won the licenses, a couple competitors in the industry were saying, "Well, who is this girl who hasn't even sold an ounce of weed, who has taken over all of the all the magazines, all the Vegas cannabis?" And it was just because they loved my story and they loved the fact that, I was a woman and it was different.
Yeah.
And then later, as we grew, I found out that I was one of the rarest groups out here to be kind of like a sole investor and partner in my business.
Yeah.
A lot of people, even wealthy people have about 6 partners, and they're all Caucasian over the age of 60.
Yeah.
Here I am. I was 27, and I'm 80% owner of my company and self-funder and all of it. So yeah, it's crazy. But it's flattering.
Yeah.
I want to keep doing a great job to ensure that other women can follow.
Yeah.
That would be the goal.
See, I love that.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
One thing, if you ever have a conversation with Brittany or eavesdropper, and I would say it would be her yearbook photo quote, it's about breaking the glass ceiling in the industry.
Yes, I love that. And you also are a woman leader in a
She
space where there are a lot of men. What is your experience and what challenges do you face, if any?
Well, there were a lot of men.
Okay. Okay.
But now my staff, for example, is 80% female.
Okay.
Right. I think it's important because, like we said, this industry is very male dominated. But when you come to Hardin, it's quite the opposite, right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because a lot of people will come in and they're like, oh, this is about sexualizing women and XYZ. But that's your perception, because on this side, it's surely not.
Yeah.
When you come here, you're going to meet educated women that focus on this plant. They focus on patient care. They focus on advocacy. They're putting their minds to, through rigorous tests, and they're actually, they're putting their money where their mouth is. So it's really cool because when you get a chance to be a leader, you have a chance to make a difference. And that's surely what we're doing here. Give women a platform to kind of stand on and support it. And I think it's important because, like, for example, being a leader in this industry and having 80% women, I have a lot of mothers on this team. And understanding that and wanting to be a mother myself, one day I asked myself, how do we create or at least start this culture where you don't have to choose between being a mom or being a leader in this industry?
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to choose because they pair so well together.
I still struggle with that even. I am a canna mom. It's part of my platform, but my cannabis community knows that. My motherhood community, it's still kind of one of those things. And I remember I was at a basketball game, and this woman comes up. She's like, hey, I've been following you for years. I love your content. I work with this cannabis company, and we're at my daughter's basketball game. And I'm like, oh my God, inside. Like, I don't really talk about this outside of the cannabis industry. And I'm like so scared to, anytime the teachers ask, what do I do? I'm like, oh, I'm in health and wellness, which, is kind of the truth. But even I still struggle with that, even though they can Google and, boom, there it is. But, for any mothers out there who are watching, and I don't know, is anyone here, Mom?
My sister is, but I have a funny story about my mother, and this I have to share with you.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my mother does like the HR for our office and everything. She's been with me since I was 23. I retired her, I pulled her out, and she came to work for me in the healthcare space. And when I graduated into marijuana, she also came on board.
Nice.
So she does all the HR, hiring, all of that. She would call, and, I'd have checks for her to go take to the bank, and she'd say, I'm so sorry. Can you have one of your sisters or the staff run it out to the car? I'm like, why can't you get off? She's like, well, when I went to the bank last time, this lady turned around and said, ma'am, are you smoking a blunt? And it was because I just happened to walk into her cultivation.
Oh, and she smelled like
So
weed.
she like smelled so
Yeah.
much like marijuana, and she's just like, no, Priscilla. Then I have to go to your brother's school, and then the mothers, and it's just so funny. But
Yeah.
it's a stigma.
Yeah,
It
there's still a
is.
stigma. There's
And I'm
still
like,
a stigma.
Mom, I'm a badass. It's okay. You let them know.
Yeah.
No, Priscilla. No. She's just still always concerned about what these other mothers are going to say.
Yeah.
So we need to break out of it.
Well, I think, it's want to break out of it, but then also there's CPS. So you got to play a delicate balance. There are people who really don't understand.
And that's got to be terrifying as a mom, but to still believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So how do you combat that? What do you do to, stay true to your...
Yeah.
Oh.
I
How
mean,
do
you got to prepare your children. Children of the industry know that what their parents are doing.
That's
is
so true.
The police can't find out about this. Like career day, we don't talk about what my mommy does. she's an influencer. Like that's what my daughter said one time. I was like, no, don't say that. But yeah, I mean, we're even reading a book from my book club where the author Alia Valls, she talks about how, you know, when they were doing the dare reenactments of my generation, where it's like you pretend somebody's selling you drugs and this is what you would say to said drug dealer, like, no, drugs are whack. And like Alia would be like pretending to do these skits, knowing damn well that's her mom and dad on the other side. And like they're spreading joy. But like, you know, you just teach your kids, you educate them first. You know, I did that through the pandemic. We had trees in the backyard with fruit, and we were growing herbs and vegetables and also cannabis. And at the end, I just asked them what was evil about these plants. And they were just like, they were confused because it was just water and sunlight like everything else. So I explained to them that there would be a police officer that's going to come to their school and tell them that this is bad and all these crazy lies, and you cannot correct him. And so my kids understand that cannabis can help with cancer, that it can help save the world, that it's really good at cleaning soil, that, you know, it can help you relax, it can help you sleep, but that, you know, it's not healthy for you if you're young and you don't understand what you're doing. It can be very detrimental to you. So they know that, you know, and they also know that they're at higher risk for doing it young because it's in the house and they see their parents mommy doing it, and boom, you know, you're more apt to do it as well. So
I have a brother who is 11, but going on 20. He's well beyond his years. But they had Dare come to the school, and they, you know, he came home with a flyer. My mother nearly died.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm gonna have to talk to him. I know your brother.
Yeah.
He's gonna go up and say, no, sir. There's many benefits.
Yeah, no, you gotta teach them not to do that.
Sir.
Yeah.
So my mother literally, I think we had to bribe him not to speak out against the dare.
Yeah.
At the you know, rally that they had, but my brother's very educated. He knows that you can buy it recreationally at 21, just like alcohol.
Yeah.
He knows of all the benefits.
Yeah.
But he also knows how people feel, and I think it is imperative to share with your siblings, children, and give them a perspective, but also let them know about the age limitations and things like that.
Yeah.
Because someone's going to bring it up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Someone
you
is.
let you be the ones that bring it up to them and do it honestly. Kids are very smart, and I don't believe in lying to kids for the sake of lying to them. Be honest about it. Like, let them know that they can't touch it, that they can't have it. They're not ready for it. They're not mature for it. You know, this is something we need to talk about when your brain, like even some 18-year-olds are still not mature enough to handle the decision of intoxication. So yeah, talking to your kids is vital. Communicate with them and also teach them what that symbol looks like on the packaging so that they know not to touch it.
Oh, man.
Because there's a
Absolutely.
lot of gummies that are attractive and a lot of packaging that's attractive. And if they see that symbol, at least they know, like, uh-oh, I don't want that. Yeah.
Especially out here because it's on every single piece too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, when did you smoke for the first time?
Ooh. So I was a freshman in college, and I was like, you know, model student, didn't drink, didn't, you know, do drugs all throughout high school. I get to college, I start drinking, but I'm never doing anything else. And this kid on my floor, like, he smelled like a pound of weed every time he came through the door. We all judged him in Oklahoma. And at the end of the semester, one of us made honor roll and one of us made academic probation. And the DARE program told me that if I didn't do drugs, I would be on the honor roll. But how did the pothead make the honor roll? Like, and why am I on academic probation? So that for me was finally like okay, if he's on honor roll and he's smoking weed, he's probably okay. So that was what made me try it. And something in me changed whenever I used it in a very positive way. And unconsciously, while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I was already doing it, which is educating about this plant. I just was not conscious. It always had found me. I just wasn't aware that that's what I was supposed to be doing. So I've been doing it since I had a 0.8 GPA my freshman year in college, and I made honor roll 4 times after that moment. So, yeah.
A very ssimilar story to that. So
Yeah.
I agree with you on
Yeah.
a whole nother level. All the way leading up into high school, I was a 0. probably even less than that. I'm pretty sure out of 300 students, I was 299, right?
Yeah.
And I remember always having a struggle with paying attention in class.
Yeah.
Later to find out that that was ADHD and anxiety and so forth. And then when I started consuming, it changed my life because all of a sudden I could sleep.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the anxiety was going away.
Yeah.
And then I finally got into college. Actually, it was really fun how I ended up going to college. I went back to school at 28,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Because I'm first generation college student,
Okay.
and I was 12 years to get through 4 years, right? Which is fine. But finally getting into that role, I remember I was smoking a joint with my wife. She's now my wife,
Yeah.
and she was still in school and she was studying to be a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes and she looks at me and she says, "Do you want to go to school with me?" And I'm like hitting the joint. I'm like, "Yeah, I do. I want to finish this,"
Wow.
right? Long story short, I had left school to help my sister with her grow.
Okay.
So going back to school was where I was like, okay, let's do this. And going back to school, I'm like, I know what I want to do. I'm in this industry. I want to show people what a productive stoner looks like.
Yeah.
So I went back to business school. We took every class together. I graduated with a 4.0 GPA.
All right.
And now I'm going back next month to speak at the Student Business Leadership Conference.
All right.
And I'm telling you right now, it wasn't any pill that they had offered me. It was 100% the cannabis that allowed me to laugh in class and to study and to just excel on a whole nother level. And
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in it.
Yes, I love that. Power of the plant. Well, it's been a great discussion. I do want to ask you guys one more question, though. What advice would you give to women who are considering entering this industry or who are newly in this industry?
Depends if it's like a marketing position, an owner position. If you're going to go into the business and want to be in a driver's seat, like cultivation, production, lawyer up.
Okay.
Ensure that you have your experts, your lawyers, your compliance all together, because it's going to be a big requirement for
Okay.
you to be successful and maintain your status.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Lawyer
It's
up.
huge. Lawyer up.
Got it.
I would say do it.
All right.
Just get your feet wet. Get in here. Play every role you possibly can, because this industry, I'm very thankful because we get to piggyback off of our ancestors that have kept this plant alive. But we are in a completely different position now than we ever were. And it's going to continue to grow and it's going to continue to flourish. So find your footing in this space. There's plenty of opportunity here. Some people find jobs, other people create them. And there's definitely plenty to go around. So just get your feet wet and try as many things as you possibly can until you find that one thing you want to stick to.
All right. Do it and try it all. I love it.
Yep.
Ashley.
I would say get ready to work hard and work 10 times harder than everyone else, not because you have to, but just so you can show them how it's done.
All right. Come in and be a boss.
Yep.
Work hard. I love it. My advice. This is a brand new industry. You just need to come in and be yourself and do what you're good at. If that is creating art, come create art. If that's collecting data, if that's conducting experiments, come in and do it. Construction, design, we need it all.
Yeah.
When I walked into this industry and I started going to conferences and telling people I was a cannabis educator, they asked me, A, what is that? And B, how do you make money? I did not have an answer. I was just continually making videos in my car, and it spun into being very successful for me. And it's still climbing, and the best is still to come. So my best advice is be yourself and be what you're good at, because we need it. It's a brand new industry, and if there are no rules, guess what? You get to write them.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure sitting here with you. I am Tammy, a.k.a. the Cannabis Cutie. Thank you to Hardeen for opening up the space, for providing the beautiful women here today to discuss. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thanks for
Priscilla,
coming by.
Brittany, Ashley, thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
This
This
is
was
fun.
fun. For sure.
All right. Peace.
Can we get some?